Alright guys, well, Marvel Tokon Souls is coming who knows when, but the thing is, we don't know which characters are going to be in it besides the 8 that are already revealed. So today I'm going to make a list, kind of a continuation on my previous video, but kind of going in more depth on what characters I'd like to see, which characters I think are going to be in, and overall just give my thoughts and opinions in a little bit more depth. I know the last one had zero effort put in, so let's get on to it. I promise you there will be some surprises that other YouTubers may not have talked about. So the first few characters I think I'm going to talk about are your faces of Marvel, the people who you think of that are going to represent the game, who will honestly make the game a must buy for the people who really love Marvel. And I think these are going to be people like Black Widow, which was probably going to be a quick rush down character with maybe a gun, a few mix-ups, and like even an acrobatic ability with a grapple, something akin to maybe even Chip's zipline. I'm going to be making a lot of references to other Arc 6 works like Guilty Gear because to establish, I really don't think these characters are going to be the same that they have been in other games like Marvel vs. Capcom. So I think Arc System is going to put their own twist on things, which is why I'm going to reference Arc System's previous works, and of them all, I've played Guilty Gear the most. So we're going to go with Black Widow as probably one of the first characters that they'll release, just so that they can have more female variety. There hasn't been too many female reveals yet, other than Storm and Miss Marvel. Doctor Strange, I think he's going to be a really cool character. He has the potential to use different skills, maybe have a resource meter similar to Asuka in Guilty Gear. Maybe he'll have different spells that he can use at his disposal. Hulk, I think he could be a big boy. I mean, how are they not going to have Hulk? He's basically like the quintessential big guy of the Marvel team. So I think they have to have him. He might be a grappler. That'd be cool. I wouldn't mind him just tossing around people. Thor, I think this is pretty much a confirm because he's been in the background of one of the stages that they showed off. He'd be really cool. He'd have obviously his hammer, which he would do big moves with, and they'd probably be plus on block. For those of you who might not be fighting game enthusiasts, characters with heavier moves usually tend to have more time that they can act in between before their opponent has time to attack if they hit their block button. So, you know, Thor has potential to use his electricity for even more block stuns, so he can act before his opponent has time to act. Scarlet Witch, I think this is obviously another no-brainer. Another magician. She's had a lot of popularity given the recent Marvel IPs, so I think she'd be a really easy pick. Wolverine, I think this could be a easy pick. Maybe it's not. A lot of Marvel fans are gonna freak out if they don't see Wolverine. So I just don't know if they would make a game without him. But he's just going to be the guy who rushes down in your face with the claws, and I think it'd just be really awesome. Black Panther, another one that I think could very easily make it in. He's such a cool character, has a lot of cool possibilities regarding his vibranium suit. Maybe he stores up the kinetic energy and releases it. Maybe he just goes in with his claws and goes ham. Who knows? So it could be a toss-up between Wolverine and Black Panther. I don't know which ones Arc 6 is going to choose. And finally, some big bad villains. I don't think I had enough villains in my previous videos, so I think Thanos and Ultron, they'd probably be the best picks for who would be the villains to represent the game, other than Doctor Doom, of course. I could see Ultron maybe being similar to Doctor Doom, but I think they have a lot of differences between them. Maybe it's just the Doctor Doom Ultimate I'm thinking about, where he has all his Doom clones or Doom bots. So yeah. Some other characters that I think that probably show up that have never shown up before. I think Daredevil. Daredevil would be such a cool character. I mean, just look at his moves, his blindness. I mean, that would set up for like a really cool counter move similar to Spider-Man's. He'd have his batons that he could toss around. Similarly, Moon Knight, he'd just be a really cool hands-on fighter. He'd have his, I don't know what you call it, his moon batarangs, but he could also be a really brutal character that gets up in your face, and maybe he has different stances. Maybe he turns into Mr. Knight. I don't know. Shang-Chi or Iron Fist, I think you have to have one of these as like a martial arts representative. I think they'd be cool characters that could have potentially stances, which is kind of a special move that goes into other special moves. Essentially, they can use it and go into a variety of different moves to mix up their opponent. Maybe they have one that's a high, maybe they have one that's a low, they have one that's really plus on block, something like that. I think you have to have that to make a cool martial arts character, and I think that Shang-Chi or Iron Fist would be perfect picks for that. Shuri, I also think there's a pretty easy choice, whether it's the Black Panther Shuri or just tech, wizard Shuri with a gun arm, I think is up to them. They could probably only choose one or the other between Black Panther Shuri and regular Black Panther. I'd be interested to see how she does it, but maybe they just make her a ranged zoner, and I'd be perfectly fine with that. Cloak and Dagger, I think, is another really great pick. They've also gotten a lot of popularity with Marvel Rivals lately, and I know Rivals is a completely different game by a completely different studio, but it cannot be understated how much popularity that game has brought to lesser known characters that I may be talking about later. But I think Cloak and Dagger has the potential to be a really cool character that has maybe some transformation between them, or maybe both of them are on at the same time and they have really cool moves that can show off each specialty. So I think it's another great pick. Hela, I'm not exactly sure how they would make Hela. Maybe she just hits people with her swords. She has cool powers over the dead. To be honest, I don't know that much Hela lore, I'm sorry. I know Marvel, not all that much though. I think she has the cool abilities to, throw her swords around, use multiple swords, whatever it may be. Maybe she has projectiles with swords coming out of the ground, or other things regarding the dead. I'm blanking, I'm sorry. A Dazzler, I think there was a poster of her in the back of one of the stages. I'll put it on screen right now. She has a chance of making it in, I think, of being a interesting female guest character who has really seen no appearances in any sort of game or media. I think she was in a few scenes in one of the X-Men movies, but she could have the possibility of using her sparkles or something. I mean, I assume that's what she does. From looking online, there's not even that much about her that I can find, so I think it'd be a really interesting inclusion, bring her into the limelight. Wasp, I think there was a hint of a shop in the background that had Van Dyne on it, so I think it's very possible that Wasp gets into the game, or Ant-Man. I think it'd be cool to have a character that shrinks down, that hits people. Be very annoying if she shrunk down, and hopefully it's just for her attacks and that she's not shrunken down all the time, but who knows. And next part I think is one of the most interesting. I think these are some characters that I'd really like to see that don't have the highest chance of making it in, if I'd be perfectly honest with you, but I think they each bring their own unique style and would be just interesting. So first up we have Arrow, which is actually a character which uses wind powers, and I was thinking if she's similar to another character in an Arc 6 fighting game against Drive, there's a character named Ino, which has instead of having a regular dash like every other character, she has a diagonal dash where she flies semi-forward and up into the air, and it allows for some really interesting pressure and mix-up and movement options. So I think that'd be really cool to implement into this game, and I think that she could have her wind powers, and it just make this character a little popular. And I mean, are you really gonna argue with having her in the game? Come on, I know what kind of fans are out there. Hitmonkey. This is gonna be a funny one. This has to be a character which just gets in your face, which just, I don't know, grabs you and just starts biting you, or just uses his gun and peppers you across the room. I mean, he has to have a low health pool or something, but just make him really annoying. I just think it'd be hilarious. Each game has to have their own joke character, and I think Hitmonkey would be hilarious. Wave. This is another character that really hasn't seen too much limelight. She actually made a short appearance on the recent Spider-Man show, but she could have water powers, which would be very cool, and she's also a pick that I would choose for water over Namor. I'm sorry, Namor, and you're cool and all, and you probably have cooler special moves. If I'm gonna be completely honest, he would probably summon a giant fish or something. But I think Wave would be just an interesting character pick. Next up, Jubilee, another X-Men. I think she has the possibility of, kind of being an interesting pick regarding her energy manipulation. Maybe she shoots you across the screen with some like energy. But most of all, I think it's just more of a personality pick. She could be someone that's a little bit more like fun-loving and a little more lighthearted, because a lot of the heroes that have been shown off are on the more serious side. And of course, Miss Marvel, she's pretty goofy as well, but I think Jubilee would be a nice pick. Next up, Domino. Domino is one that I actually really want, like an RNG character similar to Faust in Guilty Gear Strive, which is literally the PNG tuber I'm using right now. He has a move where he tosses items out, and those items are completely random. They could either help you, help the enemy. Usually, if you're smart enough, you can use those items to your advantage, but just having a character that relies on luck, it's not always the most viable, but it's always a ton of fun. So I think that'd be a really great pick. Maybe have some of her moves use that luck based factor, whatever it takes. I just want it, please. It'd be so funny. Armor. This is another pick that I think less people know about, and to be honest, I don't know a ton too, but she does have kind of this power of using this like hard shell of light to encase herself in a suit of armor, and she can essentially fight using that, and seems like has a good potential. They're pushing her in a little bit more recently, I believe, in some of the comics and some of the games. I know like one of the mobile game ads I saw has her in it, and I was surprised. But she has a really cool character design, has some really cool, interesting concepts to be explored, so I'd like to see her. And for some villains, I know I'm gonna get flack if I don't include some, so I'm gonna pick two from the Spider-Man universe. I think Lizard and Green Goblin would both be really cool. Lizard would have some interesting moves regarding his tail. He'd have low profile on the ground, be hard to hit him when he's running at you. And maybe Dormammu. Listen, if you go to the previous video, all the comments are telling me I messed up Dormammu, and I'm sorry. I mean, Dormammu would be kind of cool. I wouldn't know what he would do. I mean, he'd probably hit you with a bunch of fire and like hit you with some, I don't even want to explain it, but put Dormammu in so I don't get burned at the stake. And lastly, I think Taskmaster or Morph. These would be really funny secret characters that you can unlock, going back to kind of the old school arcade days where you would do a special condition to unlock a secret character. And I think Taskmaster and Morph, having them just as a pick where if you pick them at the start of the round, they either turn into some other hero, in Morph's case, or in Taskmaster's case, have just the moves of another hero, would be really funny, would be really interesting. Obviously not viable, but just a character that'd be, fun to unlock, if you had the chance to do so. The last section I'm gonna cover is just some good archetype varieties. I think you have to have a good balanced fighting game in order to succeed, and of course you're gonna have to have a little bit of each archetype. So I'm gonna go over them. For the heavies, I want to pick Ronin and Sandman. I think these are lesser popular picks, but I just see Ronin with his big hammer. I think that'd be really interesting to play around or play against, and Sandman would be just interesting to have a lot of cool moves with cool special effects that you can't really pull off with other characters. And then for setup characters, people who put traps on the field or who play with your enemy, these are kind of lame to fight against, but you gotta have some variety. Loki or Mysterio would be great picks. They could set up clones, teleport to them, maybe cause some chaos, hit the enemy from behind when they're not expecting it. Just be really annoying, and I know you don't like these fighting them, but they're just cool. I think Luke Cage, She-Hulk, and The Thing would be interesting grapplers. These are usually bigger characters. Of course, they don't have to be, but they're people who like to get in your face and implement a mix-up where instead of just hitting you, they grab you. And of course, I'm sure this game already has grabs, but you know, characters who have special moves that rely on a input to get a bigger reward for their grab, that's always fun to play around. Zoners, these are another type that nobody really likes to fight, but Jean Grey, Punisher, Hawkeye, even Kate Bishop's Hawkeye, I think would be great picks to have someone who just, you know, keeps their distance but really just throws things at your face, gets you down to a low enough health, and then they just win the game by death by 1,000 cuts. It's really funny, but not fun to play against. Although Punisher would be interesting because he'd be cool to get up in your face. Whereas Jean Grey and Hawkeye, I could definitely just see them sitting far away and shooting, you know, throwing rocks at you or, you know, shooting arrows at you. And then finally, the puppet characters. So these are characters who usually control some other entity on the screen. Doesn't have to be, but Squirrel Girl and Ultron, like I mentioned before, would be really interesting puppet characters. You know, Squirrel Girl has her squirrels, and she could command them to maybe run up to you and just grab you and start biting you, or maybe they take a hit for her, or in Ultron's case, you know, throw drones at you. Have a drone that sits at the top of the screen and just starts shooting lasers whenever he commands it to. They're usually harder to play, so their execution kind of gives leeway to some of the more broken stuff that they can do. And they're always annoying to fight as well, but would be really cool to have and would provide some nice variety. And very lastly, I'm going to throw in two characters just because, I mean, I know there's a certain audience out there that they need to cater toward. So Luna, Snow, and Psylocke from the Marvel Rival games, you got to put them in. If you want to make money, if you want to sell this game, you got to put them in. I don't see this game being free. So if they want to sell this game, they're going to need some fan service. And who better than Luna, Snow, and Psylocke? And they're both, Psylocke is at least a MVC staple. So, I mean, they've used her before. And obviously Luna Snow is Luna Snow, not very known before Marvel Rivals, but she's an interesting character, has ice powers, kind of looks like it coincides with some of Storm's ice abilities, and Star-Lord, you know, on screen right now, he literally just threw an ice grenade, so, you know, maybe they might not implement her, but you gotta sell the game, man. And finally, I'm gonna address one more thing that I don't think might get in. I'm seeing a lot of outcry for Mr. Fantastic, the entire Fantastic Four getting in, but I don't see it. I think for their fire character, I mean, I know he isn't flying, but they've got Ghost Rider already, right? He's already on fire half the time, and I don't know if they want that visual clutter for two fire guys fighting at the same time. And Mr. Fantastic, they've already got Miss Marvel. She's doing the exact same thing he's doing. She's stretchy. She's using her limbs. I mean, I just don't see why they would have both of them in. It'd just be redundant. The only one I could see them actually adding is the Thing, and that's if Hulk doesn't get added in. And even then, he has a chance. I think he has more of a chance than everyone else, save Invisible Woman. I think Invisible Woman also has a chance of getting in, but I just don't know why Mr. Fantastic and, you know, Johnny Storm would get in when there are two characters who do similar, not exactly the same, but similar enough things that they may not warrant their inclusion. So yeah, I mean, this is my list. You can have your own list. I'm not stopping you. And of course, if there's anything I missed, please let me know down in the comments below. Tell me your list. Except don't just send like 50 characters. Like, they're not launching, you know, they might launch with 50 characters. Don't send 100 characters. Keep it under 100, please. Keep it reasonable. I mean, they will add DLC to this game, there's no doubt. It's Arc Systems Works, but, you know, keep it reasonable. And if you like this video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, do all that stuff. Maybe I'll make more videos. Let me know what kind of videos like to see. And yeah, that's that. Stay safe, everybody.